I first noticed something different about Sandra a few months before the reunion ever came up. It wasn't obvious, not at first, just little things. She started working later, coming home and diving into her phone like it held some secret world she didn't want to share with me. She'd sit beside me on the couch, face lit up by the screen, fingers flying across the glass, smiling at something or someone that was me. I didn't think much of it at the time. Maybe it was just a chat with friends or a way to unwind after a long day. We all have our distractions, right? So I let it go. Then the reunion started coming up in conversation. Offhand mentions at first. "It's been 10 years, Danny," she said one night while chopping vegetables. "Everyone's coming back. It'll be fun." I nodded, told her it sounded nice to reconnect. She smiled, but the smile didn't reach me. Her mind was already elsewhere. Over the next few weeks, that reunion became the only thing she talked about. She bought new outfits, experimented with her hair, and booked appointments she usually couldn't be bothered with even for our anniversary. One night at dinner, watching her talk excitedly about some old classmate, I said, "You're going all out. Big night, huh?" She gave a light laugh. "I just want to look good. It's been a while." I smiled too, but it didn't feel right. I asked if she wanted me to come with her. Her fork paused for a fraction too long. "It's just college friends. You'd probably be bored." It landed like a slap, as if being around me was something to endure, not enjoy. I told myself not to read into it. Maybe it was just nerves, nostalgia. But something inside me tightened. The night of the reunion, she came down the stairs looking like someone stepping into a new life. She wore a navy dress I'd never seen, makeup flawless, heels too high for comfort. She looked stunning, undeniably so. I let out a low whistle. "Wow, you look amazing." She didn't even glance at me. "Thanks," she said, adjusting an earring in the mirror. I asked again gently, "You sure you don't want me to come with you?" She hesitated, barely noticeable, but I caught it. "It's just old friends," she repeated, grabbing her clutch. "Really, you'd be bored." So I nodded, pretending not to care, but the moment the door closed behind her, I picked up my keys and followed. She drove across town to a bar I recognized. I parked across the street and watched. It didn't take long. She found someone quickly. David, an old name from her college days. The guy who never really left town. The way she lit up when she saw him, smiling like a schoolgirl, told me everything. They hugged, close, too close. Talked at the bar, heads leaned in together, laughing, touching, her fingers brushing his arm like it was second nature. After an hour, they slipped outside. I followed, careful, keeping to the shadows. Under a dim street lamp, he pulled her close and kissed her. Not a quick goodbye, a long, slow, deliberate kiss, familiar and easy, like it wasn't the first time. I raised my phone and took a few photos, calm, focused. They parted laughing and got into his car. I stayed in the dark and watched his taillights fade. I didn't feel rage or heartbreak, just clarity. This wasn't new. This had been going on for a while. The excuses, the late nights, the glowing phone screen. They all clicked into place. I drove home slowly. No music, no noise, just the hum of the engine, and the image of Sandra in another man's arms stuck in my mind. When I walked to the front door, nothing looked different. Her coat still hung by the door. The porch light still glowed, but it felt hollow, like a place someone had already left. I sat at the kitchen table and looked at the photos. Her face told the story. The way she leaned into him, the joy in her eyes, the kiss. You can excuse a lot. Friendship, texts, late nights, but not that. That kiss told me everything I needed to know. I didn't confront her, didn't need to. She'd already made her choice. Just hadn't told me yet. She came home at dawn the next morning, barefoot, smudged makeup, hair a mess. She didn't even notice me at the top of the stairs, dropped her keys, kicked off her heels, collapsed on the couch like she had nothing to answer for. I stared at her for a long time. Then I turned and walked back upstairs. I wasn't sad, I was sure. This marriage wasn't fractured. It was finished. But I didn't leave immediately. No, that would have been too easy. She needed time to feel what she threw away. Over the next few days, I set things in motion. I found a quiet apartment across town, small, furnished, with no pass attached. Opened a new bank account, rerouted my pay, quiet, careful, unnoticed. Sandra went on like always, still feeding me lines about late work meetings and girls' nights, still smiling at her phone. She had no idea I already knew everything. One evening, we were having dinner. She was sipping wine, scrolling through her phone between bites. Thought I saw someone who looked like David the other day. I said, calm as ever, stabbing a piece of chicken. She froze just for a second, but enough. David? She echoed, feigning confusion. Haven't seen him in years. I just nodded and kept eating. I didn't need her to admit it. I already had the truth. I dabbed my mouth with a napkin and kept my voice casual. Wasn't he at the reunion? She shook her head quickly. No, he wasn't there. I gave a quiet smile. Right, not at the reunion. Just pressed up against you in a parking lot a few days ago. No raised voice, no accusations. I didn't push. I let it hang there, then moved on, letting her stay safe in the comfort of her lies just a little while longer. That weekend, while she was out shopping, I packed the last of what I needed: clothes, paperwork, old photos. The rest I left behind. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It was just walls and furniture. Before walking out for good, I took off my wedding ring and placed it next to her half-finished glass of wine on the kitchen counter. A quiet message. No drama, no shouting, just the kind of silence that means everything when you're finally done. When Sandra came home that night, she didn't notice anything at first. I watched from the street, parked a few houses down. She got out of the car, heels in one hand, purse over her shoulder, laughing at something on her phone. Still oblivious. She stepped inside and closed the door. 30 seconds later, the porch light came back on. The door flew open. She stumbled out, eyes scanning the yard like I might suddenly appear and forgive her on cue. But not tonight. Not anymore. The calls started almost immediately. My cell, my work line, then my brother Christopher. I ignored them all. Let her pace through the half-empty house, wandering from room to room, realizing with each step that the life she thought she had was already gone. Later, Christopher called. You want me to deal with her? He asked, hearing the banging on his door. I've got it, I said. When I pulled up to this place, she was standing on the porch, hugging herself, mascara smudged, eyes red like she hadn't slept. Danny, she said, voice cracking, please talk to me. I stood by my car, watching her for a moment. You lied, I said, over and over, and you actually thought I'd never catch on. She shook her head, desperate. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I gave a short laugh, sharp, hollow. You kissed him like a teenager. Sandra got in his car and disappeared into the night. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. Tears slid down her cheeks. I love you, she whispered. No, I said. You loved a version of me who still believed in you. She reached out and grabbed my jacket like she could still hold on, but I pulled away. You lost, I said calmly. You just didn't realize it until it was too late. I turned and got back in my car, leaving her there under the porch light alone, right where she belonged. My new apartment was nothing special. Second floor, decent view, quiet, but it was mine. No memories, no ghosts. The next morning, I mailed the divorce papers. I didn't wait for a reaction. I didn't need one. Sandra tried everything. She called, texted, showed up at Christopher's again. The answers stayed the same. Silence. The paperwork was clean. No drawn-out fights about property or money. I didn't want any of it. Let her keep the house, the furniture, the framed smiles on the walls. I just wanted peace. 2 weeks later, Mark, an old friend who never took sides, called me. You hear about Sandra? No, I said. He hesitated. She's falling apart. Not working. Barely leaving the house. People say she spends most days in bed. I didn't reply. What could I say? She struck the match herself. I just let the fire take what it would. A few days after that, the divorce papers arrived. Her signature at the bottom trembled, like it had taken everything she had just to finish that page. No note, no final plea, just an end, quiet and complete. Friends checked in. Christopher kept asking how I was holding up. But I wasn't unraveling. I wasn't bitter. I felt lighter than I had in years. Sandra stayed stuck. That big house, the empty closets, the wine stains on the carpet, her kingdom of regret. Mark told me she tried dating again, but nothing lasted. Maybe because it wasn't about finding someone new. It was about losing someone who had given her everything. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. Her life was a consequence. Every morning she woke up in that house meant for two. She felt it. Sometimes I'd sit out on my small balcony with a beer, watching the lights stretch across the city. I'd think about the man I used to be, the one who waited up late, hoping love could outrun betrayal. I didn't hate that man. He just hadn't learned yet. Sometimes it takes losing the wrong person to find your own worth. Sandra's biggest mistake wasn't the kiss or the car ride, or even the lies. It was believing I'd still be there when she decided to come back. But I wasn't. And for the first time in forever, I was awaiting. I was already gone, free, clear,